Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, everyone. Or good day.
Hello, everybody. I figured
Hello,
we'd
hello.
party with the
Look at
stash.
that.
There you go. She's got the facial hair.
Got the facial hair. Good.
Hey, honey, I'm Italian. Believe me, I'm gaining facial hair, especially as I get older.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you to you two for joining me. Because the football's on, isn't it?
The
World Cup.
Yes, you told me.
Fighting one another
The
at
Bills
the moment.
won yesterday. Woohoo! Almost lost,
It's
but we
England versus USA at the moment. Anyway.
Oh, you're talking about soccer football. Oh.
Oh, sorry. Yes, soccer. Sorry. Yeah. So let's make this a World Cup free zone for a moment, shall we? And just let's spend some quality time talking about some tarot. How are you two? All right.
I'm well, yes.
Yes. Thank you for
Yes.
having me. My first time on your channel.
It is. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're very welcome. Lovely to have you here, Heather. I suppose we better sort of say how this came about and what we're doing. So, Gerald, you're the kind of person that instigated this in many ways.
He's always the instigator.
He is always.
It's Gerald.
Over instigator.
Hashtag instigator. Honey,
it was on TarotStache Way.
It was.
And I had Heather on. Yeah, it was a couple of weeks ago, I think. And we were talking, she was expressing how court cards are challenging for her. And Richie, I remember that you had you developed a method to help you understand the court cards.
Yeah.
And from there, it was like in the chat, all of a sudden it was like, wait a minute. I mean, the two of you should get together. And so that's
here we
why
are.
we're here. And then there'll be a TarotStache Way with these two lovelies on Monday the 12th.
Yeah.
Yes.
So looking forward to that.
It's a work in progress. We're kind of going to do stuff. We're going to talk about the court cards and what the issues are and how we read them and give lots of ideas out and then sort of go away, practice it a bit and then come back and discuss it a little bit later, which is really nice, isn't it?
Absolutely.
But one of the other things we're hopefully going to do, if we've got enough time at the end, is to actually do some readings for you if you want like that in chat, just using the court cards. So kind of bit of a practice using you as guinea pigs. So if you fancy that,
sorry, that's my
good impression. I like that. If you fancy that, pop it into chat. With just like a general read, or you got a specific question. Bearing in mind, we're only going to use the 16 cards, and we'll flag you up, and we'll do some if we've got time at the end. So I'm really excited. Yeah. Hurrah, hurrah, hurrah! Should we say hello to some people?
Yes.
Oh yes.
We better do that. Well, Orshi's here, but isn't here, but probably might be back later, or will be watching it perhaps on a
That's
read.
another young lady I would love to have on my channel as a guest. I love Orshi. Hello, Orshi. I love everybody in the chat.
And Jamie's here. Jamie's hair looked fabulous last night.
It did, didn't it? Yes.
Looks fabulous. Hello, my lovely Jamie. Nancy, hello to you, my lovely. Hi.
Nancy.
And who else? Ren is here. Hello, Ren.
Hi, Ren.
Hi, good to see you here. And Tortoiseshell Moon is here. Good evening, lovely.
Kathy.
Yes.
Hi, Kathy.
I love that name. It's so beautiful.
Isn't it gorgeous? Isn't it gorgeous? And I really like the thumbnail as well, Kathy. Richie is my hero. Oh, that's nice. I like that. Thank you. Hi, Jane the Seeker. Howdy, panel and chat.
Hi, Jane.
That. Jonathan is here. Aloha to you, my friend.
Hi, Jonathan.
And Lorraine is here. Hello, my lovely Lorraine. I hope you're doing very well. And Kathy says, I'm loving your jumper. Thank you very much. It's new. It's my foxy in the forest autumnal kind of.
Very nice.
I bought some things because I think I never quite know what to wear on live. So I always end up looking like I've just been repairing the boiler half the time. So I kind of, I thought I'm going to buy something a bit different. So there we go. So thank you.
I missed that video.
Actually,
Believe me,
Richie and Gerald were mentioning how Richie and I both, bookend Gerald, but look at
yeah,
Richie. Behind Gerald is the same color. So it's that beautiful, it's all tied
it's
in together.
synchronicity, isn't it?
We
Yes.
did not plan this, people.
We really didn't plan this.
Oh, heaven's book.
And Mark is here. Hello, Mark, dear. Mark loves all things court, so that's fabulous.
Oh, and just if I could iterate really quick, watching back the court card Tarot the Stash Way, I loved a lot of the insights everybody was sharing, especially Mark's. Excellent. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Mark will share in chat today.
Absolutely.
You
To contribute.
I could find out if Mark's available on Monday the 12th to see if he wants to join us, and we could make it a foursome.
Lovely.
Ooh.
I'll be in touch.
Hi, Pamela.
Look at me. I'm working the room. Pamela's here.
And Ange is
Hi, Pamela
here.
and Ange.
Lunch break.
Yes.
Well, have a lovely lunch break. I hope you're having something lovely to eat there with you. I think that's everyone. If there is anyone else in chat or going to be watching it later, you're very welcome here. And of course, if you would like to put comments in, we will, of course, do our best to answer any questions that you like. Please like and subscribe. Smash the like button. I'm loving the fact, Heather, that you have got a pad with you.
Well, I'm learning. I need to have things written down to be able to, because there's just so much information trying to fit this much into something. I need. Well, yeah.
I even have some of mine tagged for future things. So
I've even got a notepad today.
I know, and I've got my notes for all the court cards.
I'm going to write myself a shopping list.
I have 5 decks I'll set aside for today.
We have got some decks, haven't we?
Yes.
As we could talk actually a little bit later about what our favourite decks are when it comes to just the court cards. We'll come on to that one. I'll write that one down. So favourite.
Hi,
Kelly. I'm
Kelly.
going to start off by asking a question. Hi, Kelly. And anyone else that's joined us? Thank you. Lovely to see you there. Here's the. I suppose it's the big question and the one that most people ask themselves. I'm assuming most people do struggle somewhat with understanding the court cards at some part of their tarot life. Why do we think that people struggle with these 16 cards?
Well, for me, automatically when court cards come up, people cards, it's like, okay, now am I reading on an actual person? Is this the person that I'm reading for? Is this somebody in their life, or is this just the energy? And then it all becomes, and you're trying to figure out with the other card. And so for me, I've been trying to look more at them as an energy than an actual gender of a person in the person's life.
Yeah.
So for me, it's always been from when I started learning in my 20s. It was always, you pull one of these out before you read. It's supposed to represent the querent. And, when these cards pop up, they're supposed to be either the person you're reading for or somebody that's in their life at the moment. Yeah. And that was just too much. But getting back into tarot now and learning that there are more than one way to read tarot, it's becoming a little bit easier, but still that, is it energy versus an actual person, gender?
Loving it. Absolutely. Gerald, what about you?
I early in my career, in my tarot journey, it was embedded in me to think about the energy around it and how each of the court cards brings an aspect of that suit to it, and they demonstrate it differently.
Yeah.
And that, of course, came from the Robin Wood Tarot, the book. Everybody knows that I talk about that. But also when I started taking classes, the person teaching the class said the king and queen are both equally powerful. They just demonstrate it differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, and I don't use significators.
Yeah. So do you think that's why people found it difficult before understanding it all?
I think people find it difficult because it's oftentimes it has to be a person and not just an energy around it.
Yep, that's how I was taught.
Yeah.
Originally.
I personally, I struggled for a long time with the court cards. I, for many years, would take them out, or if one turned up in a reading, I would pull it and pull another card to replace it, because I was always reaching for the guidebook when it came to court cards. And I did a lot of soul searching about why that's the case. And actually, one day I decided that enough's enough. I need to get on and sort of get back on that horse again and get used to it. But I think for me, the court cards were always the last chapter of the book that you read on tarot cards. So by the time you'd read the major arcana and then you'd learnt it and you'd work with the minor arcana, they then shoved 16 cards in that could represent a person, it could represent a situation, it could represent a star sign, it could, and it was like, I can't cope with this. This was completely out of my league with it. So, so that's why I came up with a lot of ideas and lots of trials with that one. So I'd be interested to know what other people think about why they particularly have trouble with the court cards, and whether that's still ongoing, I suppose. So,
and there are also different creators too, because I pulled out 5 decks that have, your basic courts, but when you look at the card, sometimes you're looking at going, that does not look like a traditional, and each, creator has their own vision and version of what their courts are. So not only having to learn the basics, but then having to look at what these individual decks and their creators are bringing into the image and into their, into the concept. And they're all beautiful, but sometimes I will look at a court card kind of like more like an oracle. Some of these decks look more oracle to me, oracle based than tarot based. But yeah, there's sometimes I'll have to pull a clarifier for a court card. So I'll be like, okay, instead of putting it away, like, okay, I'll have a queen of wands. I'm like, okay, now is this the energy or a person? So I'll, shuffle and I ask for a clarifier or two, and then hopefully will typically give me more of an idea. Okay, this is maybe less person and more energy, or vice versa. So I find that that's what I use, clarifiers more for, or I'll use my pendulum, depending.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah. I mean, again, that's another issue with the court cards, is that, do they represent the reader? Do they represent someone in the reader's life? Do they, again, represent perhaps a different energy? It was so mixed up. And as Ren said, when you first started out, when I started out back in the 80s, it was very specific. They were all white people, and they had blonde hair or dark hair, or or they had the star signs, and that's what it was. It was all pigeonholed into white stereotypes. Thank goodness we've moved away from that. Thank goodness that's gone to pieces, and we can rethink it all, because that was a bit of a legacy that still kind of I try and break and try and not use. It will go back to, because obviously it's ridiculous. So how do you kind of differentiate between sort of, again, are they for the reader? Are they representing the reader, or are they representing other people in the reader's life?
Well, for me, now that I've done enough lives, and I know when certain people come into my chat, and I've seen them in other chats, we all talk now amongst ourselves. We share our life stories. So sometimes I will get a like last week Wednesday, I had a reading. Someone asked for a couple cards, and I'm like, okay, now I know that this is what you've been sharing and what you've discussed and asking in other questions and chats about this perspective in your life. I believe that this is what this card is representing. So when it's me reading for somebody I'm very familiar with, it's easier for the court cards. But if it's somebody, like when I was reading publicly for a little bit, at a shop in Buffalo earlier this year, when people I didn't know come in and I'm looking at the card, it's just like, okay, first of all, they didn't want to share anything with you because they wanted to see just how psychic
how
and
good you were.
good you
Yes,
were.
Exactly.
And
Put you to the test.
there were times when those quartz came up, I'm thinking, oh shit. Oh, well, sorry, but
Oh, you say it's fine. It's fine. Yeah.
I'm like, how the am I going to read this? Because they're and eventually we get things figured out. And she's like, oh yeah, well, this is what, and I'm thinking to myself, well, and I'll laugh and go, well, girl, why didn't you tell me that in the first, and she's like, well, I just wanted to
Yeah.
see if you, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't appreciate that. So,
Yeah.
that was just another thing that would, you know,
Yeah.
make me nervous with public readings with the court cards, is because
Yeah.
people, I mean, I don't want someone to think I'm a, cold, because I know a lot of people with as big as the tarot community has grown on YouTube,
Mm,
there are also the anti-tarot community that has grown, and there
mm.
are some individuals out there that say, well, you have to watch out. The tarot community, they're cold readers. If you go out, da 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 da, things like that. So I'm trying not to approach my reading doing that, but at the same time, I want to make sure I give an accurate and honest reading. But there needs to be some sort of, reciprocity, give and take with the
Mm.
readings. And not
Sure.
to kind of dovetail off of that, but brings back to when you see those court cards picking up and, reading for somebody I don't know, there kind of goes the anxiety,
Well,
on
and
its way.
I also, I think Nancy referenced this, and that's part of what Kathy is talking
Yeah.
about here. I do
Mhm.
think court cards linked to the major
Yeah.
arcana.
Yep.
There's a nice link. I've talked about that. What's that
Mm.
connection, and how might that look? Because I also think when a court card shows up, it really, for me, is a call to do something with
Yeah.
it,
Yeah. Yeah.
instead of it's now the time of, let's put this into some sort of action. And
Mhm.
Mm.
that action may be, let's study a little bit, let's take action, let's nurture it, let's demand it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, that's good. I think the hardest part I have of delineating whether it's for the person or something like that is when I'm doing some quick readings, perhaps online, which I've done recently. Don't know the person, they're a name on a screen, they're not responding back in chat. It's really hard, is this Queen of Swords? Is it you, or is it, somebody
yes.
else? And that's the
Mhm.
hardest part. And all you can go on is your intuition on that one. And that's
And
when,
that makes me start to self doubt a little bit. Am I
yeah,
trusting
yeah.
Sure.
those?
One of the things that I started doing, I say recently, a couple of years ago, is to always assume that if a court card comes up, it's talking about the person you're reading for, unless you specifically set a significator to represent a person in their life. So if, for example, someone wants to know about their other half, they might want to talk about some of the traits of that person or what they're like, and then you say, well, that's going to be a page of wands or Queen of Cups or something like that. And then if
Yes.
that comes up, then you know that the cards around it and the reading and the layout of it is talking about them, and that often works really, really well. And I would, if people are a little bit stumped on that one, and at the same time set a significator for the reader as well. So I would recommend doing that.
And I like to with Kathy Wright, Tortoiseshell Moon.
Yeah.
For me, pages are an ace.
Yes.
It's your it's the individual holding, and it's
Yeah.
also the Fool. So for me,
Yeah.
pages are the Fool, and yeah, the ace of each
This
card.
makes
So
it sound very complicated, doesn't it, when we start saying things like that one? But I love the fact that we all have our own take on it all, and that this is all part of the process. I'm going to read some of the chat, if that's okay, because people are making some really good points, and I don't want to lose it. So
I'm taking notes. This is how much I enjoy it.
You're just there taking notes. It's like you can read it back to us.
I can totally read it back to you.
Nancy says ace is a beginning of the elemental energy, then the page is sort of a new beginning for the element. The Queen of Pentacles reminds me of the Empress. Absolutely, yeah. So I sometimes confuse them with other cards. It's easy to do that, but I think it's really interesting to particularly look at how the queens and the kings represent other majors in there. And how much I often think of the Queen of Pentacles as a lot softer than the Empress in many ways, a much more quieter energy that may go on with it, whereas the Empress can be sometimes a little bit, I feel, in your face.
Well, and I think, and I'm going to glob onto that idea of the Empress. The Empress is all four of the suits in one major archetype. And so sometimes we need the Empress that is very directive, very Queen of Swords.
Yeah.
Go do this. Go do your homework. Don't come
that.
out of your room until this.
Yeah.
And let's dance around the room because we're having fun and get inspired.
Yeah.
And I agree with her, because in one of my decks, this is the Queen of Pentacles, but she's very Empress.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, everything included in nature, is with her. So I definitely, when I pull out the card, I'll still say, well, this is I'll tell people this is Empress energy too, Mother Earth, guys. So exactly.
Jonathan says, I've got into the habit of drawing significator randomly from the deck and don't limit them to the courts. Find it represents the energy when the person is currently involved. And that's nice.
So people still pull a significator first.
Yeah. It's interesting. I sometimes do that. It depends on how I feel.
Yeah. I had that done recently for me in a reading, and it was very helpful. Yeah. And Sadhana, when she was reading for me, she framed the question really well. So it was easy for me to select a significator.
Yeah. Yeah. Mark says, if the court cards don't resonate for me, I don't use the deck. Again, that's interesting. And also how the court cards can actually influence you buying a deck in many cases. Sometimes it's the card that you go to.
And back in the day before Pinterest, you really had no idea what the deck looked like. Whereas now you go on Pinterest stuff and you can see now what the deck looks like before you go and purchase it, because you can't return it.
And I like to see that the court cards of each suit are somewhat related.
Yeah. Jonathan agrees with me. That's how it was in the old days. But it's still there in books and stuff, and so
there are a couple of people have written some tarot court card books, and I don't remember who they are. I think Corinne Kenner is one, but hashtag I don't need that. I have to purchase responsibly.
Exactly.
Of a situation,
especially kings and queens just being in total control of the situation. Jane says, I tell people if they ask for a general reading, they're going to get what they already know. Absolutely. Lay it to them straight. And Nancy says, any leaders like Empress should possess all the aspects: heart, head, passion, and nurture. That is a lovely statement there. Intervening queens reflect one of them. That's it. And Jane says, I only do the Lenormand.
That's the significator,
significator on that one there. So,
do you know anything about Lenormand decks, Richie?
Well, I heard that there's one about to be launched that's really quite nice.
Really?
You tell.
Well, I just happen to have here my brand new Lenormand deck, which is about to go live on MPC this weekend. So keep posted, join the Facebook page and Instagram for more information. And I might mention it a few times in a few lives coming up in the next few weeks.
And I have to say,
I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, for those of you who are watching, Richie did not know that I was going to do that, and he rolled with it quite well. So thank you, Richie. You're very kind.
Well, I'm actually, if you're interested in seeing them, I'm going to get the videos out of a walkthrough this weekend on my channel.
Wonderful.
And then next Friday, I'm actually doing readings with Chris Butler and Janine Worthington. We've all got new decks out. So we're going to be doing some live readings here, and I've just posted that on. So, but we're here to talk about the court cards, aren't we?
Yes, we are. Yes.
Professional.
Good save, Richie. Good save.
And I just wanted to add real quick, as the Lenormand that got me back into reading, though, because I felt so overwhelmed with tarot that when I started watching YouTube again during shutdown, and I started watching people doing the political tarots and everything else, and I was like, wait a minute, what's a Lenormand? And basically just being able to lay the cards straight out, not having to worry about memorizing a spread or anything. It's
Yeah.
like you read this, and then it was just like I felt more comfortable, and then that brought me back into tarot. What, you want to say hello? Okay.
Oh, we've got incoming.
Oh,
Oh,
This
look.
is my
Black Cat
Mozzie. So he wanted to say hello. Say hi.
kitty, kitty.
Okay, now you're going to go over here.
Gorgeous.
Nope. No one wants to see your butt.
Mine's nowhere. Oh, he's up there. He's having a sulk over in the corner. Okay.
No, because you won't let him near your mic.
Not after Wednesday.
Inside joke, everybody. Inside joke.
He switched me off from
Yeah.
Kelly's live. The cat did on Wednesday.
It was
Go
fun.
back and watch it because Kelly's face is a picture when I disappear. It really
It's
is.
perfect. It's perfect. Yes. Yes.
Jonathan says pretty kitty there. So
Yeah.
So let's talk about how we read them. I think that's a good way to go. Gerald, do you want to kind of, I'm going to give you a few minutes. So I don't think we can just sum this up in a couple of sentences. If that's okay with you, and I haven't pre-warned you this, but I know that you might have the odd note and post-it note around. I'm going to give you a few minutes just to explain. I'm going to keep like this unless you want to go on full screen, but do you mind
No, this is fine.
giving us a précis of your and I also have the court cards on a slide if you want me to show that for you.
Well, I actually think I'll just do this, and so
Yeah,
I'll start with the page or the lower court. It can be a page, it can be a princess, it could be whatever you want to call it. And for me, this is a novice, someone who is new or inexperienced to a field or a situation. So it's the novice card.
Yeah.
And then when we and I say that this is the novice, all of the court cards are important for different reasons, especially in a reading, because sometimes you want a page in a certain position. The knights are the cards of action. They are usually doing something. It's taking what so I think it would be novice and then maybe an apprentice. Okay, you've watched me enough. Now you go do something. You go do it. And then when we think about the queens, for me, the queens are I think of the queens as they work from the inside out. They're going to show you, they're going to nurture, they're going to help you understand something. They're going to show you. They're an adept. And then when we have the king, that is very, it's another aspect of mastery, but the king oftentimes is going to tell you exactly what you need to do.
Yeah.
So the king and the queen pull that energy and they demonstrate it differently. And sometimes you need the king energy to just go do this. And sometimes you need the queen energy, which is more, here, let me show you about how to do this. And so they're both rulers of their domain. They just do it differently.
Yeah.
So
that's very nice.
Yep.
I like that. That was very nicely done in a minute and 40 seconds, I reckon.
Ooh, thank you.
You don't need to read the book now, folks. If you do have any questions about this, please pop them in chat.
I was going to say my notes are basically his notes because I'm learning tarot over again, with Gerald and his channel, and I'll watch what other people, but when Gerald did the tarot the stash way, and everybody who reads also were coming in. It was all big class. It wasn't just Gerald that I was learning from. I'm also was learning from and writing notes from everybody in chat.
Yep.
So, and then there are times when if something just doesn't feel right, or I feel like I'm not quite getting the answer I'm looking for, I will go and I'll pull the book to get that particular creator's perspective on and see if there's something that maybe, I missed.
Yeah.
I agree.
Lovely. I think that's really
Thank you.
interesting. There's lots of things that I absolutely do as well with that one, and I agree. Well, I agree with everything you said, and that helps to build the whole picture and help us learn a little bit. I'm going to talk about. I'm not going to turn this into a 10-minute lecture, but I'm going to quickly just show you. I've got some slides. Peter's done me a fantastic PowerPoint, as only he can,
Ooh.
because I said I'm not very
Peter.
good at explaining stuff, so I'm going to kind of show it visually. So do excuse me. I'm going
Peter's the best.
He is the best, absolutely.
I have a stash tag on that. You do that, and then I'll have it for later.
You're going to hold it up and do it later.
It's right here. See, Peter is the best. And for those of you who are playing at home, right? That's the proper spelling.
It is.
Really?
It is. He anglicized it, I suppose, is probably the best way to say it. Because English people were really rubbish at pronouncing it properly, so he just became Peter, and there you go. So
that's very cool.
I'm going to just share this with you because
please, yes.
So we're going to be down the side here, so we get to see everybody there. So I thought I would lay out the RWS and just sort of talk a little bit about how this came around by me going for a really long walk, and I said I am not coming back home until I figured out the court cards and got rid of all the preconceptions of, red-headed females and stuff like that, because I don't see the queen being necessarily female. And I actually thought, I have all these energies and I can beat all of these people within a few hours a day. I can beat all those energies and have all those traits. And so that's how I thought about them. So I didn't want to assign them a gender. But naturally, because of the picture, we do tend to talk about queens and her and stuff like that. So anyway, what I thought about was just giving them some keywords. Let's see if I can get them up. And that's what I kind of think about when I'm doing this. So these are my keywords. I kind of like to give little words or little phrases that those might say. So for me, pages would say they're about finding out about what's happening with the energy. So their questions are why, what, and that ties in with, as you were saying, of learning, Gerald, and being a educator, and being learning,
a student,
like that. They're a bit like those not annoying, but those children that constantly go, but why, when you keep answering questions. So a little bit of that, because they just want to find out so much about it. So I kind of get those in my head when I see the pages, but obviously not as such a negative, annoying kind of stance that you get on it. Like you said, the knights have kind of mastered it, but also I think of them as a bit like petulant teenagers that think they know it all. They're the ones that go out to nightclubs in the middle of the winter and don't take their coats and still queue up outside because they think they know it all, and will say that, look what I can do. And they've got the money, they're a bit flash, they've got youth on their side, and they often have that energy of, well, hey, let's just go out and enjoy ourselves, and sort of almost overburn the energies in many ways because of it. Queens I see as controlling the energy, so almost taking it back from the knights and bringing it, centering it, and then thinking, right, I have now controlled this energy. Where can I pass it on to, or what can I do with that? How can I nurture it? What can I, how can I divulge this to people? And then kings as holding on to the memories and the knowledge and the experience that goes with it, and sort of say, remember what you did when you had this. Almost as an advisor, almost as a sort of statesman or a father. I can use the word father.
I like that better than the authority.
Exactly.
He's got authority over the queen, over the page, over. I like that. That's more of a strain, and I like that. Yes.
So those are the kind of thoughts that go on when I see these, and then I just build the energies into it the other way. So I read a book. I saw a Georgina Tolland, who I don't think has got a YouTube channel anymore, but she made me aware of this one. And the energies for the suits are all wrapped up in what the horses are doing in the Rider-Waite-Smith. So Pentacles one, the horse is just standing there. It's a slow energy. It's just there. It's a slow burner. You've got the Knight of Cups, which is a little bit trip-trotty, but it's just kind of nicely going along. It's not rushing in its walking. You've got the Knight of Wands horse, which is kind of prancing and up and down, very showy, but actually is not really moving very well. It's just sort of, I don't know what the technical term is for horses that do that, but they're kind of rearing up and just making a bit of a scene, a bit of a drama out of it all, but not actually moving very fast. Where the horse on the Knight of Swords is really going hell for leather and charging in. And in fact, it's got all its feet off the ground. And so that's the energy. It's fast. It's in there. It's done, and it does the job and it goes again. Whereas the poor old Knight of Pentacles horse is just there, and it's just going to slowly burn away, give you what you need. They all have the same amount of energy, but they just distribute it at different speeds.
Like Temperance, having to have patience. Kind of keeping your eye on the prize. You gotta have patience and take it step by step.
And I just and then apply that to what I know about the other ones. So you've got the slower Pentacle King who holds on to the energy. He's a bit wiser. He's perhaps holding everything in. That's why he's got his grapevines and his, and it's kind of things like perhaps the professions which may involve time, like farming is to do with cycles and stuff like that. King of Wands is a bit more showy because of like the horse was, so he might be in the show business, but one of those people that's made it to the top of their career and can write a book about it and can talk about it, and they're brilliant at after dinner speaking and all that. You've got the King of Swords who is kind of really direct, knows their stuff, it's sharp and again knows how to kind of put people in their place but give out advice. So that's kind of how it works. And then the queens are just, as I said, the keeping, the nurturing part of that energy. So, again, like the Queen of Pentacles is the Empress, sort of that slow, lovely energy that is growing and abundant and helpful. And that's basically what I do with these ones. So that's what I thought I would demonstrate. And I hope that makes a bit of sense.
It does.
And the wands
it's really
are also
good.
creative. Being an artist, I connect with the wands.
Yeah.
Because of that creative
the
energy.
elements in there as well. So,
yeah. And I think that's a really great reason to look at all of the court cards together to see the progression and to see how the energy of one is actually how it reflects in each of the suits. We'll say that.
Yeah.
Hi, Rain.
Hey, Rain.
Hi, Rain. And hi, Brian. Other people that may have joined us. That's really
when you
lovely.
mentioned knights, I was thinking of ego too. Maybe just jumping ahead without thinking like I'm, I come first. But also with the page with adolescence, that's that kind of an attitude too. Me first, look what I can do, without really,
Yeah.
Once you're the knight and you're harnessing that energy, then you can move forward with it. So that was kind of like how I was processing the page.
And also the way the energies work also would intend how, so if the pages are representing people learning or trying to better themselves or try and understand, it might reflect how to do it. So a slower energy might be from a page of Pentacles, maybe to go and look it up in a book and do some reading about it. Whereas the page of Swords, for example, wants it right now. They're the kind of people that will not read the manual. They'll just get on and do it and learn by mistakes because it's pretty fast. And
it's kind of like freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. Whether they're in high school or in college. Because I was thinking that's very freshman page. I remember when I was a freshman. That was a long time ago. But still, going in and saying, "Yeah, I'm in high school now," and and you think you were,
Yeah.
I can totally relate that to that energy to the page.
It's also really helpful. Sorry, I'm doing lots of talking. I often think of people that I know or celebrities who I think I know and assign some of their characteristics to it.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Someone like, for me, Queen of Wands may be someone, and I might have got this completely wrong. For me, in my head, it's Michelle Obama, because she's somebody who is was supportive in the role when she was the president, first lady. She was also a mother. She was a book writer. She had her own career, but she was also there to be, part of the presidential campaign and to be the first lady. So she was covering all these bases, and let's face it, was, doing it looking rather lovely and being the hostess with the mostess at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's how I kind of see people like that. Whereas the Queen of Swords might be sort of someone slightly sharper, somebody, I'm not going to name names, but we all know people that are slightly prickly, but are kind of always right. You know what I mean? And you would go for advice perhaps for when the time's right. Or
oh yeah.
But you're going to get an answer whether you like it or not, and whether it's the right, whether you want it to be the answer that you're expecting or not.
I had a professor like that in high school. She was my mentor. I loved her. I mean, I did everything I could to, make her happy and to please her with my studies. But that's her. If you did something and you knew that she knew you could do better, she would call you and your shit out right there in front of the whole classroom.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
So it was loving, but she's exactly, that would be Connie. She was definitely the Queen of Swords. I know someone. Yep.
Yeah.
Rain says this was something that I was always wondered about. People would say things like the slowest moving night. I never really got it. Yep. So look at the horses, and Pixie kind of did it for you in the artwork, and actually quite a lot of RWS clones also have that kind of movement in there. So yeah,
very much so. Very much so.
I just read in the chat. Just hope I haven't missed anything.
I'm glad so many people are here. This is wonderful.
Yes.
There is. Jonathan says, my friend Jenna Matlin has said that she has gotten the appropriate gender court cards for her clients prior to them starting to transition.
Oh, nice.
That's cool. That's good. Yeah, I think do you see the kind of court cards as, I'm not going to say the word genderless, but sort of all-encompassing, Gerald? Do you? Is there never times that you would, or not particularly assign?
I try
to say here, but hopefully you get the gauge of it.
I pay more attention to the energy of a person, because when that comes up and I would like to find out more from the person for which I'm reading, I will say, do you know someone who is all of a sudden like, they get an idea and they're gung-ho about it and they're going to do this? Or do you know somebody who tends to be slow about making changes or things like that? That's how I typically look at it. I try to avoid the gender because it's energy.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think one of the things that has held me back, and this could be for other people too, but it's when the original tarot, was created, it was at a time where, like we were talking about backstage, it was all very white individuals, blonde hair or dark, so it was very gender specific. It was very race specific. And now I feel like tarot in some ways was outdated, but now with all the new creators and content, like what Jonathan just shared with us, and with creators like Colette Baron Reed, her court cards, all of her cards are now including individuals from different cultures. We have Asian represented, we have African American. It's just, I love the fact that body, I have ones in the deck called the Stardust, and they'll all have to do with, there's women who are voluptuous. There are some that are thin. It's more encompassing. People are taking much more time to consider. And like with Tarot de Louis, I have a night card, and some of the night cards are actually women. They're not all men. Women can be nice too.
Yes.
So I like that energy of the different cards. And one of the main things that I do on my channel, I have to get back to with after the holidays, is I do investigative tarot, which is true crime and missing persons. And for me, there are certain decks where the court cards are very important that I do want to get a better
Hmm.
understanding. And that's where times
Absolutely.
too, the court
Yeah.
cards are clearest to me because I have the case. I know who I'm reading on. I know who the players are. And when I ask specific questions, if a certain court card will appear for that particular individual, then I'd be like, okay, we're on the right track. This is definitely the energy. It's been
Yeah.
provided. So for me, that's where my strength is in the court
And
cards.
and I think that's an important thing that you have developed, and I encourage everyone to do that. Develop your relationship with the court cards.
Yeah.
It's like Richie went out for a walk, and it's like I'm going to come up with something
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
before I get home. I mean, he could still be out there many years later.
Yeah.
But it's
Underneath.
also, but it is paying attention to the readings. What goes on when the Page of Pentacles shows up?
Yeah.
Oh, it's an indication for me of this. Bring
Yeah.
that into it. Don't try
Yeah.
to shove it away. I think that's really key.
Yeah.
And ageism also.
Yes.
I have
Oh
like the
yeah.
king from Colette Baron reads the Good Tarot. This is the King of Fire.
Oh
It's
yeah.
beautiful. He's an elder. He shows his age. He shows his wisdom, and he's of another cultural descent,
Hmm.
Asian descent.
Yeah.
So, and then in another one, I have the Queen of Earth. This beautiful African American woman, absolutely
Sure.
gorgeous, and her king
Yeah.
in that deck is, I
Yeah.
mean, a white king. So there's no concern
Yeah.
about, multiple. It's multi-diversal. It's multicultural, and that's what I just absolutely. There are other things I have,
Yeah.
some things
Hmm.
about I'm kind of like, why did she hit? But I still love the fact that people are making an effort now,
Yeah.
creators, to make
Yeah.
more inclusive decks.
That's a good point, and it's one I'm actually going to go on to. I will go on to Jane's point in a moment about animal decks. Do you ever see the court cards as families, as in?
I do.
In that way?
I like to relate to them in that
Mm-hmm.
shared energy,
Yeah.
and that's why I want the page to lead into the knight, and the knight to lead into the queen, and the queen to lead into the king, and then I want the page and the queen to have some relation. I want the knight and the king to have some relation. So for me, it's very much a buildup.
Yeah.
And are they family? Maybe. Are they related? Maybe. But the energy
Yeah.
comes through.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
agree.
That energy does flow through all four and across at the same time as well when you're looking at all four pages. It's fascinating. And actually getting a grid in my head like that with all 16 laid out,
Yeah.
I've got it. I think I've got it sorted. What about you, Heather? Do you think of them as a family unit at all?
I am aware that that's a possibility. For me, I have been trying just to be able to like grasp the energy. I try to keep it as energy or as a personality, not necessarily, again, gender. But I do like that idea. Now, if I were to ever be able to read for my family or somebody's family, I will be able to start looking at, I probably would look, okay, well, maybe does this individual represent this sibling or person
Hmm.
or dynamic that's in the family?
Sure.
I
Yeah.
really haven't read publicly for a lot of people, just very little. So my education and my level of where I'm reading right now is because of those who subscribe to my channel, who invite me to their channel.
Sure.
That's how I learn and I develop. Otherwise,
That's why we're here.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely.
Range says diversity in the cards is important, not just race and sexuality. I love that you mentioned voluptuous women, Heather. Also, older people is important, and I think more and more decks now are getting the message with that, aren't they? And mixing up, like you said, you can have black people with the white people in the different suits, and old people with different. It's fantastic.
Like this one
Yeah.
here,
Oh,
Queen of
yeah,
Swords. She's,
Hmm.
she's pretty. I mean, there's no swords, this is why this deck kind of confuses me a little bit. But still, she has, a woman who is obviously pregnant. There's another one in there where's a woman. She's very voluptuous, but she's what would be considered, if you were going on internet, people would probably be saying, "Oh, she's fat, she's obese." But in these cards, they show her embracing her figure, her body,
Yeah.
and loving it and feeling comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
Jane says about the court cards, my husband always shows up in my readings as the King of Pentacles, but if you were to read a book on court cards, he should be the King of Cups.
Then don't apply that.
Don't read the book.
Don't read the book. You do you. If that card shows
you
up.
You do you, boo.
But actually, that's a really good example, perhaps, of where we kind of, well, for me, I got so panicked about understanding them that I would read the book when it came up in a reading. I would read it and go, "Oh, well, it's got to mean that," and I just didn't go intuitively. I didn't do that, and it just disjointed everything. So it can be whatever you feel it is.
Yeah, and I love it when I'm reading for someone and court cards come up, and it's me. So I'm asking them, "Does this remind you of anyone?" And I described it as I describe the energy around it, and they're going, "Oh, that's my, that's my friend Bob. It's my cousin Mary, who I know," and it's great. So
yeah, I agree with Jane. My fella Shan, he's a Pisces, and he's very emotional, he's very kind, he's very caring, but really he's appeared in several readings as a sword, because practical, this is this is how I see it, this is how I think it should be, and this is how it's going, at times this is how it's going to be done. So I see that, I get it. I totally understand.
Do you read, I'm just looking at Jonathan's comment here, do you read astrological symbols in with them as well, or do you leave that alone?
I leave it alone. For me. I don't know it.
There's already so much that I'm trying.
There's a lot. Again, you're beginning to close off. I will think not close off, but you're adding a layer on that may just for me doesn't work. So
plus it could be confusing.
I'm a bit like no.
Well, twice a month I do new moon and full moon readings with Ivana Intuitive, and we will to learn a bit about astrology. We'll do this is the new moon, like we just did Wednesday, new moon in Sagittarius. We'll research, we'll share what we find.
Of course.
Cards, but we won't focus on, if it becomes obvious, we're like, oh, this is what the cards are saying, the energy is, without having to try to sit there and look at the card and figure out, So that comes over naturally, organically, I guess.
That would just overcomplicate things for me, trying to remember that now, because right now it doesn't feel appropriate. It doesn't feel needed, so I'm not going to use it.
Yeah. And for me, that takes me by the hand and leads me back to 1980 when, the King of Pentacles would be a brown-haired Taurian person who's slightly overweight and balding. Well, I've managed to turn myself into that, so it's like so that's why we leave it alone, because again, it's just it's
what color hair did they have?
Brown. I used to have brown.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
you used to have hair.
I did.
So did mine.
Blonde hair. I know. Rain says, on that note on book, I do have a book on court cards, and honestly, it confuses me so much. What do you each of you think about books about the court?
I've never seen a book on court cards alone, so I can't answer that.
I've got a couple, and I would say read, enjoy them, read them, and take from it what resonates and what works for you. And if it doesn't work, don't try and jam it into the, don't try and put a square peg into a round hole, whatever the saying is. Just make it work for you.
Actually, if I can just really quick, Barnes & Noble got together with a tarot card creator. Her name is Tina Gaughan. There's no specific name for the tarot. The images are very, what I like about them is there's no hair color, there's no skin color, it's just a shadow.
I'm still here.
And and the book itself and the cards are exclusively only through Barnes & Noble. It's only $25. And I mean, she writes.
Wow.
This is a great book. I take a highlighter pen to it. And what she does, which is amazing, is that she actually breaks down, the major arcanas being the conscious, the unconscious, the superconscious. But when it comes to readings, she will actually put live readings that she's done. Well, readings that she's done for people. She'll show you the card she
Oh,
got.
okay.
She
Yeah.
Oh,
gives
that's
you,
helpful.
and then goes on and explains the reading. So it's a thick book. I have a lot to go, but it's beautiful how she puts in upright and reverse because she feels both is important.
Mm-hmm.
But what she'll do is the interpretation, the reflection, and then the action. And so
Mm-hmm.
you can like highlight little bits, and then you have the main, it'll say,
Nice.
certain
Yes.
keywords. Because I know in the other day's video, keywords written on cards were, I think, a favorite of yours, Richie.
Yeah.
Sometimes for me, it helps. And because these cards, I've been thinking about getting a gel pen and just writing down some of her key phrases
Nice idea.
because I love how she just goes and makes these just very neutral. I mean, and what she does
They
too
are.
is,
Yeah.
and when you put these two together, the queen and the king are facing each other.
Oh, that is nice. And they're
And
almost
so
opposite. The light.
yeah, but they're together. They're each
Yeah.
offered. So I like how she does the placement and how very generic, so that you don't get wrapped up into symbols, hair color, skin color, anything. You just learn the basic energy from that deck. So that's a really great book.
So that's Barnes and Noble, that
It's
one.
an exclusive only, yes, and it's by Tina Gong, Gong, and it's only $25, and you get that thick book, and you get the cards. I mean, the cards are a little thin, but still, I mean, they shuffle nicely. They don't stick. I can't
Yeah.
stand cards when they stick. So it's a great learning tool because then you can write, because it is so plain. You can write tiny little keywords either on the front
Yeah.
or on the back, so that And to me, this is going to be a great
I
tutorial.
think you've made a really good point then. One that I like is that I do like a silhouette deck when it comes to court cards. So something like Stephen Bright's Spirit
Oh,
Within,
yes.
something like that. I've got quite a few that have got that in there. So you don't get you just get the outline and you can work it out.
So Stephen Bryce?
Stephen Bright's Spirit. I will go and get it for you. One moment. I'll turn my camera.
Okay,
well, and yeah, Steve, it's Stephen Bright. What is the name of that? Oh, I can't remember. But
I know I want to definitely get the Robin Wood. I really like the looks of that Robin.
It's
you might say Robin Hood.
Yeah. Well, and for those of you who watched this recently or watched me recently, I did find my Robin Wood tarot. It was exactly where it belongs. I just couldn't see it. But I also think it goes back to the idea of what Jane the Seeker Tarot said, which was she likes court cards that don't have people in them. The Spacious Tarot.
Yeah.
Oh, the Spacious Tarot. Okay.
I was going to ask
hi, Sandra.
Sorry, Jane was asking a really nice question. What do we think about court cards with animals in them?
I like them.
I only have 2 decks that are animals. One is I love Colette Baron Reed. I just love the artwork that she chooses. I like, I don't agree with all the images, but I do have a spirit oracle that she put out with her artist, and I just absolutely love the artwork. I love how she approaches, especially with like with Fox. People are saying like in Lenormand, foxes are sneaky, they can't be trusted, or this and that, but foxes are so much more strong spiritually. They're good for protection, camouflaging, being clever, being able to think quick on your feet. So I love a nice basic spirit animal where it cuts out all the negative connotations we may have with an animal, and just be able to look at its medicine, at its gifts for us.
Yeah. Hi, Hillary. Hillary says I have a cheap deck that I just write words on that resonate different reading from books. I like that. I think it's brilliant. Hi there, Sandra. Hi. Hello to you, my lovely.
Hi, Sandra.
Good to be here. And Mark says I will defend astrology sides, courts on the 12th. But I totally get what they're saying, overcomplicating things. In any case, it's still reading as energy, not as actual someone's side. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, and to that point, I don't know astrology well enough to actually added in as a layer.
Mhm.
If I start to study astrology, great. It gives me an opportunity to add a layer of energy. So
I just want to make sure that I get a much stronger, foundation and
Yeah.
understanding of every single card. There we go. Yeah,
So I've just
yeah.
pulled some of them
okay.
out. I've just pulled,
I
so you
remember
get the
that.
idea that we're dealing with. I just like the mellow colours on these.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Like the
Um,
colors that she picked with hers. Yeah, just very simple.
yeah, and just not having those actual facial expressions and
Yes.
just some
I
symbols.
mean,
Really,
I did get a writer Smith that has the actual
yeah.
reads for reverse, but sometimes I'll be reading that and I'll be looking at the rest of what I've already read, and I'm like, okay, that's not connecting. So sometimes these are a great help. Sometimes you just got to know when to
Yeah.
pick and choose.
What is the name of that deck, Richie?
Spirit Within Tarot.
Spirit Within. Thank you. I couldn't
It was
remember
one
it
of the
either.
first decks I bought when I sort of started my channel up. I saw it and I was very surprised that it was I don't know why that Steve, I didn't know anything about Stephen Bright and I didn't realize he was English, and I sort of came across him a bit more and more, and I just really love that he's a very, very knowledgeable person and makes some great decks. And I just really like this one because it is, I'm not going to say the word neutral, but it doesn't layer on so many different images on that it can confuse you. So I would recommend this for somebody starting out possibly, because also it's incredibly glossy. So you could actually get a semi-permanent pen wipe it off again. I think it would probably work with that.
That's with the Star Tarot. I love them, but they are so layered with,
Yeah.
you got the butterflies, you have the horses,
Sure.
you have the heart, and then when you open her book, which is absolutely beautiful, and she does a great job. I mean, and that's another book, and so you have multiple layers. So I only really pick these for certain readings that hopefully people don't mind if I have to kind of flip and open. But again, other cards that that are multi-layered, that sometimes is too much. That's why I like some of the basics, and then maybe pulling out something that's a little more layered.
Rain says, I love any card that's got animals on it. There's a lot of love in here. Hi, Miriam, for animal totem decks. I have a little bit of problem with animal decks for court cards, mainly because, again, it puts my brain into too many layers that's working.
Sure, yeah.
And I just, for example, have for some reason I always think the salmon is always appearing. I think it's in the Wildwood, isn't it, as one of king or knight?
Yes, something like that. Yes.
And I have real problems with actually trying to make that association. It's a bit of a leap too far for me, but I actually really love the artwork on it there.
Well, in that,
sorry.
I was just going to say, isn't that nice? Because we live in a time period where there are so many creators and so many decks available that if that doesn't work for you, then there's something else that works. So what else were you going to say, Richie?
No, I was going to say the one thing that I get a little bit fed up, and this is just my own personal gripe, please don't hold it against me, is I get a little bit fed up of sometimes seeing the Queen of Cups as a mermaid. Because quite often she's, it's a water, and I get it all. I totally get it all. But I've got about 4 or 5 decks now where the Queen of Cups or the Cups at least are merfolk, and I'm just like, it's time to shake this one up a bit.
Like that.
There we go. Yeah. I thought, oh, here we go. And that's just my personal gripe. And I know there's probably a lot of people in here that love mermaids. I love mermaids, but not every time for the Queen of Cups. I'm going to be honest.
It's like the pregnant empress. There's other ways to show the empress is managing a harvest or not. So
Pamela says the Wildwood Tarot is the first deck that really talked to me and set me on my path. Fabulous. That's exciting. I know you've been doing a lot of work with it. And we're going to be doing similar work in February. We're going to be, Gerald and I believe, we're going to start doing some stuff to do with the Wildwood Wheel of the Year.
Yes, we are.
Nice. I have a quick question. When it comes to court cards and the knights, now I have a deck I've had for years. It's called the Sacred Circle, which is based on the wheel of the year,
Mhm.
paganism, everything, even the major arcana are switched around to figure more with the understanding of paganism, nature, religion. And for her nights are all on foot. There are no horses. Now, I
Mm.
kind of feel like there should be horses. I'm just starting to realize that now, that when I pull this out, I'm like, wait a minute, where's the horse? So I haven't picked this up in a while. So how do you feel about a night card not having a horse in it?
I'm fine with that as long as they're not all on horses. What worries me is when you get some that are and some that aren't. And that's my
Yes.
OCD
None
really
of them
kicks
are
in
on.
at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, night as long as they're all presented in a knightly way and that they are easy to see that they're not kings, perhaps.
This is the first deck that I've had that I remember seeing that there has been a knight that's not on a horse. It's just kind of like standing in the, in the bushes holding up a sword. I'm like,
It's
okay.
interesting that that's the case because quite often modern decks might not have the horse, and I'm thinking of something like what am I thinking of? Spirit? No, what's it called? I've forgotten the name of the deck. Chris's favorite deck, not Spirit Keepers. What's it called?
The Light Seers.
Light Seers. Thank you. My brain's gone on a Friday.
I'm sitting here. I'm like going, okay, which Chris?
Light Seers.
That's a very popular.
The Light Seers. That hasn't got any horses in it, and it's got motorbikes. And This Might Hurt also has all the knights on motorbikes, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, and Heather, Spiritual Rain asked, may I ask why you feel there needs to be a horse tradition?
Maybe that I'm used to. And mentioning the Light Seers, I actually do have Chris Ann's the Muse Tarot, which I love, and the horses are not in that one. Or no, actually no, they are. So yeah, I don't know. I think just for a knight, you see, you're so used to, for me, seeing a knight on a horse. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, I'm still going to use my cards, but for me, I was like looking through, going, okay, wait a minute. There's a knight, and like I said, I'm still learning, and I just wanted to see what, because knights means movement, moving forward, and all of them are basically standing in a field, holding either their torch or their swords, and they're not really feeling that energy moving forward kind of momentum. So I was it was just a curious question for for
it's a good
readers.
question. I mean, I appreciate you asking to do that. I do think for me it's important to remember that knights did other things than ride horses. And I think, Richie, I hadn't thought of it, but I think you're right. You have to distinguish the knight from the king, and one way to do it is to put the king on a throne and the knight on a horse.
Yes, exactly. Particularly if you're not going for a deck that has them particularly aged, or perhaps you're mixing up, different colors, different people, different types. You need to do that.
And I don't think a deck is less because of them not being on a horse. I'm not saying that a deck is is less. It was just me starting to realize when I was pulling out these cards to share for today. I realized, I'm like, wait a minute, these guys, they're not on horses. And to me, and I started looking back at some of my other decks. I'm like, no, there's horse there. And I was like, that's interesting. Maybe I'll be able to bring that up during and just see what.
And there it is, people. That's the showing of the growth and what you can do. So,
and
well
Rain,
done.
You didn't put me on the spot. You're fine. No, it's good. That's how we share our ideas,
Yeah.
Well,
there's a lot of comments about the Morgan Greer as well. That's another famous deck that doesn't have knights on horses. And I always get a sense that they're adventuring, or perhaps the horse is out of shot or off the bottom of the card. But
yes,
I've never dawned on me. I love the Morgan Greer as well. Yeah,
and I like Pixie's what Mark said. Pixie's horses are very informative, and other decks, not so much.
Nancy makes a good point. I always thought of them as goal-driven, which doesn't always involve a horse. Armor can differentiate them too. And perhaps there's an element of them standing up, protecting.
And with the good tarot, the knights are considered messengers.
Yeah.
And she refers to as the elements. So there's no horse in that one. So this is starting to Page of Fire. Yeah, okay. So yeah, messengers. So they takes
Yeah.
the horse and the knight out of it, but bringing. I mean, I just love this deck. I just can't. It's a deck that I love, and then there's a deck that I sometimes want to go, you know, because of personal interpretation. But still,
Pamela's made a good point here that the page studies the knight's quest, so therefore
the
doesn't
Queen's
necessarily
Queen.
need to have a
Ooh,
queen creates the king inhabits. That's very much what we were
yeah,
talking
because
about.
if
I really
you don't
like
have
that.
the Queen, the Earth, there's something for a king to build his foundation on for his
There we
castle.
go. Shall we pull some cards?
Yes.
We've got time, haven't we? So we've got about 10, 15, 20. We could do a little bit longer if people want to. We thought we might pull some cards, having talked about this, and kind of, if anybody would like a reading or a thought, or perhaps even just make up a scenario, and we're going to apply the court cards to him and see what we can come up with. It's kind of, let's put our money where our mouth is kind of game. Gerald,
Jamie's like, absolutely. Jamie's like going cards, cards, cards.
I also have another deck, and I don't know about issue with nudity, but the Achaean deck, their knight is a herald. Sorry about
the herald could.
I don't know how you do this. I mean, and the King of Cups, you would think is a very loving, this is their interpretation with skulls. I'm like, okay, so that's a deck I tend to use for some of my.
But I think that's what. I can't remember who said it. Was it Jonathan or Mark said? It's very much the court cards really do dictate how I feel about a deck, and I totally agree.
Yeah,
it would be. It could be that I buy the deck and I'll get to the court cards and go, oh no, and that has happened. I'm not going to mention decks that's happened to me, but there's quite a famous deck creator out there that I get to the court cards and go, oh no, and sometimes put their decks away.
Hypnicity also requested a card,
and so did Paper Moon Tarot, Nancy,
and Lorraine,
and Jamie. We'll try and get as many people as we can. We're going to do some really quick ones. If we don't fit everyone in, we'll try and get as many people in as we can. So, should we do Jamie first? Jamie said
is it a single card we're pulling, or
how do you want to do this? Do you want to pull one card and we all have a go at it? Would that be easier?
Sure.
Should we do that one so we can? Heather, you go first. You pull a card and then you can interpret it. Gerald, we'll see what card Heather pulls and we'll go for what we think, and perhaps that's the best way than all pulling.
Yeah, so we'll each give our spin on the card that's pulled. That makes perfect sense.
Heather, what deck are you using there?
For Jamie's, I'm going to be using the Tarot de Louis.
Lovely.
I'm probably not quite saying it. I'm trying to, pronounce it properly. My little French deck. What? No, you can't come up here right now. Okay, so for Jamie.
I'm just starring people here.
I got this is, to me, now, I watched enough lives. To me, this definitely feels like Jamie. I know Jamie's very passionate about what, she believes in, what she does. She doesn't hold, back how she feels when she's live. She tells it like it is, from what I've seen, and very creative, thinking, outside of the box, just that very fiery passion, that very passionate about, especially with her animal rescue. I think Jamie said she does animal rescue. So whatever, she gets involved in, she's very passionate about. So for me, that feels very much like Jamie, the Knight of Wands, tapping into that inner fire, that creativity.
Keep that up, because I'm reading that card. I'm reading that card for Jamie, and it is the Knights. So Jamie, before you go dashing forward, taking action, make sure you check that you're leaving the appropriate things behind, so it does not weigh you down, so that you can move toward that energy appropriately. Do not be encumbered by that which does not serve you. That's
Jamie,
me.
I don't know if you watch the Bake Off, but if you do, you'll know that some people, when they get to the last bit with the showstopper, they pull everything out the bag and it all goes horribly wrong. And to me, sometimes the Knight of Wands can do that one. It's all sometimes tricks, smoke, and mirrors. Just be careful, as Gerald said, that you always are. It all comes from here, because it's very easy with the Knight of Wands to be all out there, all show, all razzmatazz, everybody, you know, be it everyone's beck and call, everybody's favorite, and you can burn yourself out, because the Knight of Wands is about fire, and it's a very fast burning fire. So always try and hold a little bit back so that you have enough energy to go forward.
Nice.
Well, XM Muller, look at that differently. Wow. Definitely will have to watch playback to write this all down.
You'll have to
Well,
write it.
yeah, and that's one of the beauty of doing readings with people.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Burning bridges.
Next up, let's do Kathy. She's happy to be a guinea pig. Gerald, do you want to pull a card?
Absolutely.
What deck are you going to use?
I'm going to use the Out of Hand, the Jamie Sawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And so, here we go. This is the Queen of Cups. So the Queen of Cups, when I see this card, it suggests to me, perhaps it is time to pay attention to the magic in your everyday life. Look for the signs, pay attention to those, honor your intuition, and pay attention to it, because that can lead the way for you.
Okay.
And maybe have a stone or two in your pocket.
Yeah, for
What,
balancing those
you mean
emotions.
there's people that don't have stones in their pockets?
Yes, Richie. And let's, have a cup of tea of some sort.
Yeah.
There you
Sometimes cards are very literal.
Heather, did you want to go next?
Sure. Queen of Cups, of course, that loving energy, that supportive energy, tapping into that intuitive side. That's why I like how they use the tea reading, because you're tapping into that emotional, intuitive part of yourself. And I do like the idea that they put the stones in there, because it's good to have certain stones so that when you have that, if those emotions become high or maybe a little imbalanced, you have those stones to ground you. So just someone that's very nurturing, and it's kind of like pointing right there in the bowl, making sure that you don't empty your cup out, that you have enough to give to others, but you don't drain yourself, that you don't have enough for yourself.
Nice, lovely. I'm going to go with, again, very similar. This is somebody who knows that they can take time to be with the people that they feel need help and need guidance and need love and nurturing, because the Queen of Cups is a very nurturing, very loving energy. And this person is taking time, as you said, to read the tea leaves. They're not just doing it for 1 minute, pulling a card like we're doing. They're spending the whole time on the beach, telling the story, giving guidance, giving it from a place of love. So they are prepared to give up their time and invest their time in things that they think are worth investing in, and would also expect, therefore, that when they do that, the people listen to it as well.
Nice.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kathy. I love in this.
Me too.
Me too.
It says, looking for the magic in everyday life. Love it, Gerald. Thank you very much. Okay, do you know what? It's quite strange reading with just court cards, isn't it? Because it's kind of,
it's pushing me out of my comfort zone. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Sweating bullets.
So it's stretching you?
Oh.
Yeah, it is a beautiful deck.
But also, I feel like I'm in a very safe space with them.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. I like that.
Who should we go for next? Let's do Lorraine. Lorraine would love a card. So, Lorraine, I'm going to pull for the Dark Mansion, because these are big cards and I love the cartoony characters of them. So, let's have a card for Lorraine. Ooh. We have the Knight of Swords. Okay, I'm going to go first, okay? I'm just going to get that in focus a little bit there. So we talked about the energy of the Knight of Swords. This is something this energy is going to come bouncing in. In fact, it's going to more than bounce. It's going to crackle in like a lightning bolt. It's going to wake you up. It's going to energize you. You're going to be able to do all those things that you've been putting off to do because you've now got the energy to do it. What I would say is be very careful because the energy can be very, very strong. And I'd also say it can burn out quite quickly as well. So just make sure whilst you've got this energy, you're applying it to the things that need the energy to solve it. And just be careful because often the Knight of Swords can be quite wisecracking, can be quite sharp in what they say. You have to live with these people or deal with these people potentially afterwards. This energy's gone. So just, know how to try and control that energy. Don't let it become too much of a weapon like a sword actually is that can actually do more damage than good.
Yes. Who do you want to go next?
Who wants to go next?
I can go.
Go on, Gerald.
Go down the line.
So, Lorraine, I think with the yes, there's this burst of energy of getting things done and trying to be active, your thought, word, and deed. As Richie said, be very careful about what comes out of your mouth because once it's out of your mouth, you can't put it back in. This does come with a warning of take a breath before you speak and make sure you have all of the information correct because there's three sides to every story: mine, yours, and the truth. Make sure you get a rounded view, but it really feels very much like there's a pool of getting things done, checking things off of, just trying to dash forward, get all of the things done. Pick which things need to get done. So that's me.
Okay. Heather.
Now for me, I'm used to when the Knight of Swords comes in. No, I'm just saying this is my perspective, my connection with the card is fast moving, kind of cutting through the BS. Yes, swords can be cutting, watching what, intellect. It could be a very sharp intellect, very knowledgeable, very quick on your feet, knowing what to say. But like, I think connecting with what Gerald and Richie said, being sure to know when to say and how to say it. But this is like quick moving energy, being very decisive, going forward, knowing exactly what it is that you want, cutting through, like I said, any of the BS and just going for what it is that you want, but just making sure that because of the red being, that very fiery, emotional, passionate color for, energy that goes with that color, just being mindful of that and keeping that blue, that balance of being, watching what you say, but being very decisive and it's basically speaking your truth. That's what just jumped in.
There we
speaking
go.
Nice.
Your truth.
Thank you. Well done. Lovely. Thank you very much. Raymond Ooh, I noticed in chat, so that's great.
Yeah.
We're going to go to Hypnocity now. Have I said that right? Hypnocity. Yeah. I'd love a general reading. Gerald, would you like to do this one? Pull the card.
Sure. Yes. Hypnocity. Here we go. King of Swords.
Oh. Okay.
Wait a minute.
Go for it.
Apply your skills appropriately. Stay focused on what's going on because someone is going to walk out of your barber chair with the impact of what you're doing and what you're saying. So in this case, it feels very much the lean into the skills that you have and but also pay attention to the people that are being impacted because the natural tendency of hair grows in a certain direction, so go with it to maximize its beauty rather than trying to go against it. I finally got there. Thank you.
I couldn't tell that that's a barber or a haircut. I'm looking at the image and I'm like, I can't see, but I think I see.
Here's
So
the arm, the
Yeah.
arm, and then the foot, and then this is the cover, the
Oh,
barber's cover.
oh, okay. Oh no, and he's wearing his barb. Okay, I was like
Yeah,
looking at this
he's
going,
got
I can't
scissors and a
see.
comb.
Oh yeah, it makes me think of the Sweeney Todd when I see that. Um, do you want me to go, Richard?
go for it. Yes, if you'd like to.
So King of Swords, um, having control and mastery over what it is that you do. I know that creativity is also associated with swords because you have to have the mental capacity to learn and to be able to execute what it is that you are learning. Um, with this, it could not be like a pencil or a piece of paper. With here, it's a scissors and a comb, trimming hair, cutting. Must doing that Barbary, is that what they call it?
I
But
like that word, Barbary.
It
um,
works, yeah.
so it's learning how to is that mastery of skill that you have acquired and putting it to use and not being afraid of it, standing in your power, taking that mastery and going forth with it, being confident.
Mm.
Because with a scissors in it, you got to
Hmm.
you have to be sure of yourself. So taking everything that you have learned and applying it and not being afraid of standing in that power and owning it. That's what
Yes.
jumped in my head, owning it.
Good. I see the King of Swords as a slightly warped version of the Justice card because that too has a sword in it as well. People may be coming to you for advice or perhaps to give information or to be part of making a ruling like the Justice card is. But like a barber, the King of Swords can talk and will tell you the life story. The secret is to know when enough is enough with the King of Swords, when you've handed out the information, and when to be quiet, I think, and when to listen to what people are saying, because the King of Swords can sometimes just go, well, that's my point of view, and just go blah 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 blah, blah, and will talk for the sake of talking and will give their opinion for the sake of giving their
Hmm.
opinion, and actually confuse the issue even more if they're not very clear. So just hold back and make sure if people are coming to you for advice, listen to what it is. You have got the advice, but make sure that you hand it out in the right way that the receiver can do something with it.
They're very
Nice.
people oriented. They like to talk. They like to gossip. I completely forgot that when you go in your hairdresser and they say, "So, how are you doing today?
Yeah, yeah.
And then you
And
automatically
you know in your
start
heart of
telling your
hearts
life
that they're just
story.
making talk.
Kind of like
Yeah.
a barber,
Well, and
bartender.
yeah, and you've got to be careful what you say to that person.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hypnocity says praying for justice has been big in my life. Well, that's
Hmm.
really good. And Hillary says, I think of the King of Swords as being the expert in their field. Yeah, a bit like that hairdresser there. So really nice. Hello, everyone. Hi, V Kestrel.
That'd be.
Lorraine said, wow, thank you. That really resonates. Thank you very much. You're all very, very welcome. We do have 2 more to do, so that's okay.
Yeah.
Heather, would you like to pull one? This is for Nancy. Nancy says, what direction should I pursue with the house we're building?
Ooh.
And I think she means what direction, as in not north, south, east, west, which way to build, but how to go about it and where to go. Unless you do want to know, should you be sort of building your extension northwards? I'm sure we can find that one out for you, Nancy. But yeah, what direction should I pursue with the house that we are building? Well, that's an intriguing question.
It really is.
Well, go with what your heart says. I'm getting that now with this deck, Heaven
Is
and
that the
Earth.
King of Cups?
Yes, it is. It's kind of like
Okay.
the Jason Momoa card. If you look at him,
Yeah,
it looks like Jason
never
Momoa.
seen a King of Cups like that before.
So we have the owl above, which is wisdom. You know what it is that you want. You have, even though I'm not crazy about snakes, snakes is about shedding and letting go. Also personal power. So making sure that what you want, and what you feel, what you desire, that's going to move you in the direction. And then this one, they've got them like on chariot wheels. And what I also, too, if I just want to iterate really quick, what I love about the Heaven and Earth, too, is that for people with disabilities, this is a great deck as well, because this could be a chariot or it could be also a wheelchair. So it also helps represent people also for those with disabilities. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there with, the diversity in the cards. But King of Cups, balancing what your heart wants with what you can do. There's the wisdom. It already says here that you know exactly what direction you want to go to, and that eagle is flying forward. It's being right there, and the cup is in his hands, and it's to his heart. So you already know exactly what it is. You just need to have the confidence to let go and shed any of that fear that might be holding you back and move forward. You have the message, you have the wisdom, and you have what's in your heart.
So, King of Cups, what I would say is make sure you have a good plumber and good water supply. Mm-hmm. I would also say if you're feeling strongly about doing something with the house, but it may not be practical, it's okay to do what you want because it's going to make you happy. Because if you don't do what you want, you're going to look around the house and you're going to feel a certain way about it. And you want to feel as positive as you can about it. And Heather, I also love the idea of it's on some sort of a chariot. Make sure there's good parking, good garage, and make sure it is accessible.
Oh wow! I'm learning so much now about these cards. How I can interpret them.
So wow. I would go. Yeah, I think I'm very much the same as Gerald. Go with what your heart tells you to do on this one, even if it's not practical. I would say pay attention to water. Perhaps think about having not a water feature or perhaps watercolors somehow in your design. You might want to think about having water in your garden or around that one there, and certainly make sure your drains and your gutters are all working as well, because that's what I would say. But yeah, definitely go with what your heart says. And actually, if you're going for directions, I'm just thinking the direction for the water element is west. Am I right in that one?
I associate it with west. Yes.
Yeah. So again, think about rooms or things that may be on a westerly outlook. Think about that one, because that would be a really interesting direction to pay attention to when you're building it. And just think about water colors and cooling colors and decoration that perhaps suggests water, and bring that element in as well. But as Gerald said, go with what your heart really wants. Listen to people and go with the thoughts of what that has.
Go with the flow.
Love it.
I love it.
What I love about this is that I'm learning. For me, I'm looking at the emotion and the energy, whereas you're looking at the physicality. You're putting in the physical aspects. So now I'm starting to be able to look at what a physical aspect, not just the energy. So I have the tangible and in the intangible. That was great. Thank you.
That's what it's, that's what we can all build on, and that's one of the lovely things about doing these kind of readings.
Because I didn't think of anything like that.
It really is, yes.
With plumbing or whatever, and she said house, and so I automatically went for the emotion into building the house, but not the actual solidity of the house. So,
Richie, did you see what she said?
No, I'm just going to go back and have a look. Oh, some very good advice. The house will be on the water. And I always think of my Pisces husband as King of Cups. So maybe I'll let him decide. Wow. Thanks. There we go.
For entertainment purposes only.
Boom, Tish.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that.
I'm a fan, but I broke my second one already. So.
And Jonathan says, my son just said I like Gerald's.
That's a new one. Gerlad, as I'm on.
James says my house is situated in a west-east way. I love that. I get sunrise and sunsets. West is the lake. How lovely. We've got time for one more. That's Rain. She has asked if there is time. I would love, God, of course there is time. Is it my turn? My turn,
Yes.
isn't it? Yeah. So I'm just going to shuffle for Rain. This has been so much fun, hasn't it?
It has been.
And I've learned a lot. So thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Good.
You know, for having
Exactly.
me and for
I
being
can't wait
here.
to continue this, though, in a couple of weeks' time.
Yes. And
I know
what
Joe,
we've
right?
got.
Jason Momoa. Mm-hmm.
I was thinking of Jason Momoa. I'm thinking I might need to get that deck. Okay, so we're ending on a goodie. We've talked about her quite a lot. Queen of Pentacles.
Ooh.
Oh, look at this one here.
You know,
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to go first, if that's okay, and
No,
then I'm going to let you two lovely people talk. So the Queen of we've already talked about the fact she's like an empress, but she's much more much more caring in that kind of a very maternal, caring way. Now, when I say maternal, obviously people's mother figures all mean something slightly different to them there. So I'm just thinking about grounding herself. I see her very much like the Earth Mother, as somebody who knows that to give is just as great as to receive, and that the earth and the grounding and the earth energy that comes with this one is its own reward. And the kindness and the love, she doesn't always need to be told, oh, thank you so much, I love what you're doing. She knows, she can see the effect that she has on people there. So I would say make sure you are very grounded. I would also say get out in nature. I would say if you can, if the weather's good, try and plant something for next year. I'm going down that road there. But enjoy the things that you have around you, and enjoy the joy that you get from things, particularly gardening, perhaps the natural world, because I think that means a lot to you, and it can also help create mindfulness and peacefulness as well in difficult times.
Do you want to go next, Heather?
Yeah, because I know Rain a bit, and I know that she lives has a beautiful farm. She lives out in the country, and she talks about how her bliss is being out in nature with her pets, her gardening. She actually has another channel where she shares her kitchen and her gardening tips. And so she's all of that. She is the empress. She's the gardener. She goes out into nature. She makes sure that she grounds herself on a daily basis. Maybe need to be mindful of maybe a little bit more grounding, especially, I know she's in Canada. We're having the holidays here, but still, it's a time when people start to get more with their families. You get preparing for winter, and just making sure that you're grounded, you feel safe, you feel secure, you have everything that you need. Mother Earth supplies. You will be all set for the winter season, and to just continue embracing and sharing your gifts on YouTube. She does these beautiful, quick morning car pulls with her two pets, and it's just a very calm, very peaceful reading. And I think she brings that in to just make sure that she grounds herself more, And I think she already does, but just to be mindful of it.
So, Rain, this card came up, and I'm looking, yep, this is Rain. This is exactly who you are. This is exactly where you are, is exactly where you want to be. With this card also comes the understanding of you are creating things for the future as well as for the now, and making things work with what you have. You're managing your environment. Keep doing that. Don't lose sight of your individuality, because you are so incorporating yourself with your homesteading efforts. You bring you into it and allow the homestead to give back to you. And I think this is especially as it gets busier and busier, pay attention to money and the resources, and be pleased with the progress that you've made. So,
Lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you all very much. What have you got coming up? this coming week. Hi, Micah. Hi there. Hi, anyone else that's joined us at this time.
Micah.
I'm hosting readings with Purple Elephant, Deb
Oh.
H, and Kelly Does and Cats Wellness Tarot on my channel on Monday. I am with it's Tarot the Stash Way exclusively on Jane the Seeker on Tuesday. I'm a guest there. I am hosting readings with Jonathan Daly and medium Betsy Palmer. Here, you gotta have that little thing on Tuesday. And then I've probably got some other stuff going on, but I will say the two of you and perhaps Mark Astro Tarot are going to be coming back on to Tarot the Stash Way on Monday, the 12th of December. And we're going to continue the conversation about court cards. So
I love
that's
it.
me.
We'll talk about this forever.
Wow. Busy.
Yes.
Heather, what about you? What have you got coming up?
I've got things in the works. I want to be planning on this weekend. But this Wednesday will be my Witchy Wednesday. So we haven't quite picked a topic yet. So I'm going to be meditating on that this weekend. I will be doing my investigative tarot again Thursday. I'm actually going to be researching some cases this weekend. I like to also try to focus on reading on cold cases and crimes for missing and or murdered Indigenous women and individuals, because it's such an epidemic, not just in America, but in Canada as well. So I'll probably be looking and choosing a case, and Sherry H. From the Swamp sometimes joins me along with Sharon from Strawberry Rhubarb Tarot. So right now, those are the two things that I'm working on, but I have other ideas and segments that I want to bring to my show. So, so this
really
weekend
nice.
will be a good time to kind of kick back, relax. You know, no appointments, no need to go anywhere, and just relaxing and working stuff out. So, yeah, and I'm looking forward, of course, to the 12th.
Yes, make sure it's in your diary. Kathy, I just noticed you. You're very, very welcome. Thank you very much. You're going to take this. What I might do is I might put Peter's slides, or perhaps put them together in a short video, or do something to go a little bit more depth, and put that up on the channel so that you don't have to go through the whole lot. But I could probably talk about it for several hours, but I won't do. But if you like, I can put it there, or let me know. Drop me. Sorry, the cat's in front of the microphone. Drop me a message through Facebook Messenger, and I can send you the PowerPoint if you want me to do that, or email it to you if you're interested in that one. So I am with Chris Butler next Friday, and with the lovely Janine Worthington. We've already talked about this. I will be showing my new deck. We're going to be doing readings. I'm doing readings with my new Lenormand deck. Basil is annoying me with the microphone, and Chris and Janine will be doing. I'm sorry, everyone. Chris and Janine will be doing readings as well. I'm going to go before he reps the joint, but I want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you, Heather. It's been a pleasure having you here. Thank you, Gerald, my lovely. It's always a pleasure to do readings with you. I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend, and apparently the World Cup scored 0-0 still to England and the USA. That's soccer, by the way. So keep watching. Come on, England. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Be the best.
Bye.